Our next speaker is our very dear Swami Shantatmananda Maharaj, who again needs no introduction. If I spend 2-3 minutes introducing him, he will scold me. So I leave the floor to Maharaj.
Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhur Muhu. I start with this prayer to the Holy Mother because she was an embodiment of peace and harmony. Since she used to say, people come and tell me, Ashanti, Ashanti. I have never experienced. In Dakshineshwar, I used to stay in such trying circumstances. Still, I always felt as if a picture of bliss was placed in my heart. So I think there cannot be a better person by way of reference if we talk of peace and harmony. Some of the speakers spoke really about the extremely difficult circumstances that are prevailing in different parts of the world, and that we are moving away from peace and harmony. I always take a very positive attitude because even if you consider our own country, a country of 130 crore people, probably about some 30-40 lakhs are affected at a time. All these things cannot be avoided at all. When such diverge cultures, religious beliefs, people of such divergent nature live together, these kind of little skirmishes cannot be avoided altogether. Now this is not new. It's even if you take the human history, say 5,000 years, even beyond, what do our Puranas talk about? Devasura Yuddha. There was always Devas, there were always Asuras. So the mankind, these two personalities would always exist. But by and large, can we create a world where there is peace and harmony? That's our essential goal, and this is where we should all concentrate. Moreover, our Dr. Karan Singh talks so much about the Advaita Vedanta. If you take the highest idea of Advaita, all this is mithya. All this is not going to exist. Today or tomorrow, everything is going to go. So if you picture yourself at the highest ideal, nothing can touch you. So ultimately, peace and harmony is something one has to feel genuinely inside. It's an individual effort to be felt at the level of the heart. Of course, in an existential world, we should create conditions which are necessary where people can live reasonably in safe and secure circumstances. And this attempt has been going on and it will go on, and largely we will succeed also. And depending upon the history of the world, at different times, certain situations happen, and thereby we see certain things happening somewhere. For example, if you take India as a whole today, a kind of churning, a resurgence is happening in this country. Some of the violence is because of that. Whenever there is a major resurgence or there is a major churning, obviously something might happen, but all would ultimately lead to lasting peace and harmony. Now, 125 years of impeccable existence in the life of an organization is no mean achievement. One of the reasons for this is the successive generation of monks have run the Ramakrishna mission just in the way or as per the procedures laid down by Swami Vivekananda, and who himself said that he has not introduced anything apart from the teachings or messages of Sri Ramakrishna. So, today, Ramakrishna mission or the Ramakrishna order is recognized as a global symbol of peace and harmony. I've been in Delhi for more than 16 years. I don't think any major interfaith harmony or peace conference happens in Delhi without the Ramakrishna mission being invited. And that's a true testimony to the efforts which this organization has been putting forth for the last 125 years. Now, coming to the subject proper, I would say that the Ramakrishna mission's approach to peace and harmony can be looked at from 3 dimensions or 3 aspects. First, I would say, is the spiritual or the transcendental dimension of peace. Now, if you talk about the life of Sri Ramakrishna, what is special about it? he said that religion is realization. So the entire concept of peace and harmony of Ramakrishna Mission is not mere words, mere talks, or mere philosophy. It's to be based on experience. Only if you experience, if you live a life of peace and harmony, only then you can transmit it or carry that message to others. So Sri Ramakrishna always believed that religion is realization. So one is the mystical or the spiritual or the transcendental dimension. Second is the philosophical dimension. And the third is what we see at the existential level. So if you take it at the mystical level, let us start from Sri Ramakrishna himself. After being immersed in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for more than 6 months, at the end of his Vedanta sadhana, his mind had attained such a supreme state of Catholicity. He started feeling that all sadhanas ultimately lead to one goal, or the non-dual realization of the truth. At that time, a Sufi practitioner by name Govinda came to Dakshineshwar. He was given accommodation, food, etc. Imagine the Catholicity in those days. A temple, a Hindu temple dedicated to Kali, providing food and accommodation for a Muslim sadhaka, a Sufi practitioner. So when Sri Ramakrishna talked to him, he was deeply impressed by his sincerity and he wanted to practice those disciplines. He got initiated by Govinda, and then day and night he was chanting Allah's name, his dress, prayers, everything changed. He completely erased his Hindu beliefs or Hindu background, and he stopped even stepping into the courtyard of the temple. Even, special type of food had to be provided to him, cooked according to the Muslim tradition, of course by a Brahmin cook. And then, at the end of his sadhana, probably just 3 days, he had the vision of a radiant being, grave and with a long beard. And then probably he instantaneously realized who he was. And then, this is the idea of Sri Ramakrishna's realization of his sadhana according to Islam. And then, probably this again confirmed his belief that all these ultimately lead to the Vedantic idea of oneness. Again, another example, Shambhucharan Malik used to read out passages from Bible to Sri Ramakrishna. Again, you see, in the Hindu temple, a person dedicated to Hindu belief, a spiritual giant, listening to the reading of Bible. He was deeply impressed by the pure life of Jesus. And he was, whenever any idea possessed him, he used to think constantly about that. So he used to visit one Jadu Malik, who used to stay close to Dakshineshwar. In his parlor, there were many wonderful pictures of saints and gods and goddesses and so on. And when Jadu Malik was not present, his employees would open that parlor for Sri Ramakrishna to sit to relax him some time. So one day his eyes fell on the beautiful picture of Christ on the lap of his mother. In fact, this original picture is still available in our San Francisco Center in America. So as he looked intently at the picture, deeply thinking about Christ, the picture became animated, and very soon a radiance, a glow started emerging from the picture that was entering Sri Ramakrishna and completely changing his mind, his attitude, etc. Then finally he came back to Dakshineshwar, and the next 3 days he was completely immersed in the thoughts of Christ and the Christian ideas, etc., etc. At the end of which he had in between he had a vision of a clergyman offering incense and lights before church in a church before Christ. And then at the end of the 3rd day, when he was going near Panchavati, he saw the figure of a very wonderful personality advancing towards him. He could clearly recognize him as a foreigner. And then slowly, he was of course very handsome, but then he saw his nose was a little flat. And then this figure ultimately merged into Sri Ramakrishna. He instantaneously recognized him to be Jesus, the Son of God, who gave his blood for the mankind. So he asked later on some of the disciples, how was Christ looking when he was alive? So they always said, as per the descriptions available, he had a long or aquiline nose. But later on, three accounts of lives, Christ's picture and his physical appearance appeared. In one it was said he had a flat nose. So From all this, Sri Ramakrishna accepts the idea, yato mat tato pat, as many paths, so many faiths. Now coming to Sri Ramakrishna, he and his brother disciples in 1886, around December towards the end, went to Atpur, the birthplace of one of their brother disciples, Premananda Babaram, and one day they were, in the evening, they were intense spiritual mood they were feeling. They gathered logs of woods, lighted a dhuni fire and sat in meditation. After meditating for several hours, then suddenly, when they opened their eyes, Narendranath narrated to them the entire life of Jesus Christ, starting from his birth. At the end of it, they again dived deep into meditation, but at the dawn, they felt that the previous evening was Christmas Eve. So, the Ramakrishna Mission, right from inception, there is a mystical connection with even Christianity, so to say. Now, if you even look at the life of one of our giants, Swami Brahmananda, he was once in Chennai, at that time it was Madras, and Sister Devamata, one of the very close devotees of Swami Ramakrishna was there. She was a Western lady. So Brahmanji told him to arrange for Christmas celebrations at her house on the Christmas Eve. They all went. So Devamata was reading from the Bible. Suddenly she looked at Swami Brahmananda. His eyes were transfixed. It was clear that he had transcended and gone to some other region. Then she stopped reading. There was a stunning silence for about 10 or 15 minutes. At the end of it, Swami Brahmananda said, ask them to continue. It was all over, offerings were done. Then we were all sitting and having prasad. Swami Brahmananji remarked, sister, it was a very blessed day today. She said, what Swami? We are blessed. You have come to our house. She said, no, you don't know. When we were reading the Bible, I saw Christ standing in front of the altar with a long blue coat and he talked to me. So this is the mystical connection of Ramakrishna Mission or Ramakrishna's orders, idea of religious harmony. All our efforts originated from that. So when you talk about the philosophical aspect, it was Swami Vivekananda who clearly established in the World Parliament of Religions the idea of religious harmony, for which he used a beautiful parable of the frog in the well and said, like, we are all like frogs in the well sitting in our own wells and thinking that this much only is the religion and the rest are all meaningless. And then he made the entire audience understand, because originally the purpose of the Parliament of Religions was to establish the superiority of Christianity. But Swamiji conquered the entire parliament and established a true spirit of harmony. It was largely because of the philosophy and the ideas he talked about, and subsequently he preached it for almost 4 years in the West, and subsequently also all our Swamis in the West and all in India, constantly this preaching is going on at the philosophical level. Now, in Sri Ramakrishna also, not only he practiced, he clearly said that what was the idea of yatomat tatopat. He said, supposing there is a water reservoir, Muslims draw water from it, they call it pani, the Christians call it water, someone calls it aqua. So, he said the same water is being drawn, but people call it differently. So, the ultimate truth is one, the path is different maybe, but they are all reaching. But of course, the ancient idea, ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti, is embedded, all these ideas as that. Now, when you come to practice, since inception, Ramakrishna Mission has been positively advocating, setting up interfaith conferences, participating in interfaith discussions, dialogues, etc., everywhere. Not only that, most of our ashramas, they celebrate Christmas Eve. In Delhi ashrama, many of you have attended. In the temple, we celebrate with the picture of Christ, Madana, etc., and it's done beautifully, clearly exhibiting our spirit of harmony. And the Archbishop of Delhi and other fathers come, they all attend. So at the practical level, it's not only theory, because we really believe. Because quite often, I tell in interfaith conferences, the problem is, most of the others, they speak in interfaith platform that way, but going back to their own communities, they take a different language. They talk differently. But here, openly, we celebrate the Christmas Eve in such a way that it's for all to see what's our true feeling of respect and love for Jesus Christ, and also for the great ideals. So, most of our centers, particularly in Bangladesh, we run a lot of service activities. The majority of the beneficiaries are from the Muslim community. In India also, everywhere we have all the services that are offered are done without an idea of caste, creed or color. All are served in the same way. In fact, even amongst our monks, there are number of people with a Christian background, and more than that, there are also maybe one or two with a Muslim background. So that way, the Ramakrishna Mission's approach has been threefold. At the mystical, transcendental or the spiritual dimension, starting from the life of Sri Ramakrishna and the direct disciples, that's one. At the philosophical level, largely by Swami Vivekananda and also by others, that was the second dimension. And coming down to the next generation, subsequent generations, all of us have been really putting it into practice in the field of our activities, through our interactions, through our participation, that interfaith harmony is to be established at the level of the practice also. Thank you very much.